All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Twitch Film Table Reads. This is your host, Allison Parker, speaking. And today we are reading Mafiosi della Vicaria, Vignettes from the Five Families, episode 101, written by Tyrion Draper. And we're also reading a second TV pilot after this one called Cal and Grady. Now let me just see here 1 second. I'm just making sure everything's working okay. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right in the chat. I think we should be good to go though, so I'm going to join our table readers 1 second. Uno momento. Okay, hi everybody. How's it going?
Oh, highlighted.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hello.
So many hellos. How are you guys doing?
All right.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I am one for
I'm
the
verified.
All right, I'm gonna take that as you guys are okay. Well, I was requested that I reread the title. I'm not sure why, because I probably said it wrong. Maybe it's just to make me look silly. But today we are reading Mafiosi della Vicaria, Vignettes from the Five Families. I don't know if I said that right. But Cheddar, you are narrating this. How are you feeling? Are you feeling ready to go?
Sure, why not?
Let's do it. Let me press record and I'll let you know. Take it away, Cheddar.
I Mafiosi della Vicaria. Vignettes from the Five Families. Chris DeMeo, episode 101, written by Tyrion Draper. Series format note: each season covers one time period of Italian-American mafia history. Each episode consists of one or two self-contained, true-to-life stories, which are narrated by anyone in and around the mafia, including family members, civilians, cops, lawyers, etc. Ultimately, the narrative of the entire season is told indirectly through these individual stories. Teaser. On a street at night in 1974 in Flatlands, Brooklyn, a yellow Cadillac Coupe de Ville pulls in front of the local working man's bar, the Gemini Lounge. Two men exit the vehicle. The driver, Freddie Denome, 39, poorly groomed, learning disabled, auto savant, and his passenger, Mr. Todaro, 60. As Mr. Todaro steps onto the curb, he unwittingly sinks his boot deep into the wet, stinging snow.
Motherfucker.
Freddie laughs shrilly, as if he's heard the world's funniest joke. He rubs it in. It's a bitch, ain't it? He looks down at Mr. Dodaro's boots. Where are those from? Mr. Dodaro pays little mind to the repugnant man.
Don't remember.
The two men start walking towards the clubhouse entrance. Freddie points down at his own boots. Peggy got me these. They get the job done. Suddenly, as if amused, he smiles widely, an insidious grin showcasing his rotten teeth. He looks directly at Mr. Dodaro. I can have her pick you up a pair. On the arm. Caught off guard, Mr. Dodaro glances back at the man before brushing him off again.
Gee. Thanks.
The men arrive at the entrance. In the picture window next to the doorway, the Venetian blinds open and two eyeballs peer out eerily. Our narrator, Chris Rosenberg, 24, thick New York accent with a hard edge, chimes in.
You can judge my life for the things I did.
Freddie opens the door for Mr. Todaro. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse at night, the two men enter the apartment attached to the bar. Freddie points Mr. Todaro down the dark hallway in front of him. Right this way. Sensing something is amiss, Mr. Todaro glances back at Freddie before cautiously moving forward.
But the truth is, God made me this way and put me in this environment.
Suddenly, a feral Chris Rosenberg, standing 5'5" with brown shoulder-length hair and a slightly droopy mustache, pops out into the hallway wearing only underwear and holding a butcher's knife. Freeze frame. A look of sheer terror on Mr. Tadaro's face in view of Chris's wicked glare as he bounces.
If only you were so blessed.
And a teaser. Outside in a neighborhood at night in 1949, seen in black and white through a distorted lens. A lower middle class block in Canarsie, Brooklyn. A Lincoln Continental parks in front of a house.
Long time ago in Carnacy, an unknown man appears on the block.
A powerful-looking mid-30s Italian man exits the car. He's well-proportioned and handsome, wearing an expensive suit with wing-tipped shoes and a fedora hat.
Not just any man, one whose presence immediately puts people on notice.
He walks to the front entrance of the home and knocks on the door. Mrs. Rosenberg, early 20s, dark-haired, attractive, opens the door. She's turned on by the mysterious man.
A young Jewish housewife is immediately drawn to him.
In the Rosenberg residence, in the living room, the man starts touching and kissing the woman as he enters the house.
She allows him to force his way inside.
In the bedroom, the two start having passionate sex.
Where he fucks her nice and hard.
In a hospital, 9 months later, after a difficult labor, a doctor holds up a newborn baby boy over an exhausted Mrs. Rosenberg. She cradles the stone-faced baby.
9 months later, the illegitimate son of a gangster is born.
On the street, during the day, 10 years later, we go back to full color through a normal lens. The Rosenberg family, consisting of Chris, 10, his parents, and his younger brother, walk amongst a sea of worshippers after Shabbat lets out. They're all dressed nicely. The men wear yarmulkes. Chris disdainfully looks up at his father as he meekly clings to his wife. He's antithetical to the gangster from Chris's fantasy.
In truth, I was born in Harvey Rosenberg to two weak and timid Jewish parents.
Chris notices some young Italian boys laughing at the worshippers from across the street.
I always hated being a Jew, so I told people to call me Chris.
On the street, while out riding his bike, Chris is chased by 3 older Italian boys. They're led by notorious neighborhood bully Frank Romano, 12.
Get that little Jew!
They ride him down, forcing his bike to crash. 2 of the boys hold Chris up while Frank grabs his yarmulke.
Always wanted one of these.
He puts on the yarmulke and makes a mocking face. The 2 other boys laugh hysterically.
Being a short Jewish kid on the block dominated by Italians, I didn't really have no choices.
The bullies start pummeling Chris.
I could get beat on daily.
Outside the Rosenberg residence closet, Chris opens a shoebox revealing an object wrapped in white cloth.
Get used to the walls inside my house.
In an alley, the same 3 bullies smoke a joint. Frank still wears Chris's yarmulke.
Or
Suddenly, an enraged Chris appears holding his father's revolver. He cracks one boy over the head and pistol whips another. Points the gun at Frank.
Whoa, easy, man.
hands against the wall.
As the bully complies, Chris snatches his yarmulke back and flings it in a nearby dumpster. From a few feet away, he aims the weapon at the panicked boy's head and thumbs the hammer.
Wait!
Bang! The bullet only grazes Frank's head as Chris loses control of the weapon, falling to the ground. The terrified bully screams as he scampers out of the alley. Eyes wide and breathing heavily, Chris crouches as he collects himself. His nose starts to bleed. He blacks out.
After that day, no one so much as blinked an eye at me. And if they did, I never let them forget it.
Outside a gas station, 6 years later, Chris, 16 now, and his crew are hanging out behind the gas station. Standing next to Chris are Joey Testa, 15, and Anthony Center, 15. Interchangeable, good-looking Italian sociopaths who eventually become known as the Gemini Twins.
By the time I was 16, I was the only non-Italian in one of the toughest crews in Canassi.
Montage, the evolution of Chris. And Allie, as the Gemini twins restrain a Jewish boy, Chris socks him in the stomach. On a street at night, Chris and his crew kick and beat a teenager who lies helplessly on the ground.
We ran everyone over.
At a gas station, Chris nonchalantly palms off a dime bag of hash to a passing-by driver. At a schoolyard, Chris and his crew hoot and holler while playing a game of street craps.
Did whatever we wanted.
At a high school, inside, against a row of lockers, Chris makes out with his gorgeous girlfriend.
And got whatever we wanted.
In the Rosenberg residence living room at night, as the Rosenberg family watches TV, Chris bursts through the door with his girlfriend. A little while later, music starts blaring from the top floor. Chris's girlfriend moans loudly. In the Rosenberg residence second floor hallway, after knocking at his door, Mr. Rosenberg demurely asks a shirtless Chris to keep the noise down. Chris slams the door in his face. At a gas station, as Chris and his crew loiter, a car full of Puerto Rican youths taunt them and speed off.
Anyone who felt otherwise.
In the backyard, the same Puerto Rican youths barbecue amidst a 4th of July celebration. In a back street, amidst gasps from his crew, Chris lights the fuse of a blockbuster and stuffs it into his back pocket. He climbs a wall and tosses the explosive into the gas grill. As it detonates, screams and chaos ensue.
Got life memories they wouldn't soon forget.
End of montage. Outside a gas station at day, Roy DeMeo, 24, tall, sloppy, fat, droopy face, watches Chris hustle from a distance while eating an ice cream cone. He licks the cone steadily as he gawks at the 16-year-old.
It was around that time when I met my mentor, the great Roy DeMeo.
Montage. Roy's stolen car ring. On a street at night, Chris pops a car door lock using a Slim Jim. In the car, he uses a slap hammer to break and extract the ignition. He starts the car and speeds off. Outside a garage, Chris pulls into the garage as the gate slowly opens. Roy stands at the entrance, waving him in. In the garage, the truck and door locks of the car are changed. The dashboard VIN is replaced with a phony. At a car lot, the car mounted on a hauler is delivered to a dealership. On a sidewalk, Roy hands a thick envelope to his superior, Anthony Nino Gaggi.
Roy was a rising star in the Gambinos. His stolen car ring netted the family a mint.
End of montage. Outside Roy's house, a swimming pool. Chris cannonballs into the pool and horses around with the Gemini twins. With his wife nearby, Roy lounges in a deck chair. He spies on the 3 half-naked teenagers through his sunglasses.
Though only 8 years old, he still was like a father to me.
In the backyard, towels draped over them, Roy and Chris stroll through the grass.
He directly influenced my dream of becoming the first non-Italian inducted into Cosa Nostra.
You know, I met Lansky. Guy was something else.
Roy wraps his arm around Chris tenderly.
You're a lot like him. Just as smart, but I think you got more grit.
Roy ruffles Chris's hair playfully.
Unlike him, you could be the first Jew button man. You never know.
In the Gemini Lounge bar at night, traditional Italian music plays on a jukebox.
But Roy had a side to him that set him apart from the other Rise guys.
A diminutive, drunken man in his 30s sits at the bar, slurring his speech as he rambles. He sips his drink and makes a sour face.
This ain't Cuddy.
Bartender points to a bottle of Cuddy Sark.
What do you mean? It's straight out of the bottle.
Bullshit. Where's the fat fuck who owns this joint?
Come again?
He throws his drink on the bartender.
Where's the dopey-looking, marble-mouthed faggot who owns this dump?
The bartender leaves. Moments later, a shadow is cast over the man. A large, hulking Roy smiles down at him.
Side that made him far more dangerous and explosive. He was a risk taker.
He drags the smallish man to the lounge area, squeezes him in tightly, and starts mockingly slow dancing with him.
He was unpredictable.
Face pressed up against Roy's chest, the man's muffled, slobbering whines are drowned out as he feebly attempts to break free. Roy spins and dips the man, tossing him around like a rag doll as he sings along to the music. Laughter fills the room.
He was ruthless.
Finally, he puts his arm around the man and escorts him outside. Through the window, Chris watches the two enter Roy's car. Suddenly, Roy lifts up a silenced pistol. A flash of blue-orange light emits through the windshield as the man's head bounces off the passenger window. Chris flinches.
He'd kill you for nothing.
Roy mockingly smiles as he wraps his arm around the corpse and waves at Chris.
And have a good laugh about it.
Cut to black. On a street at day, 8 years later, Chris's white Corvette travels along Flatlands Avenue. Chris DeMeo, 8 years later, in Chris's car. Chris, 24, drives with Joey, 23, riding shotgun, and Anthony, 23, in the back.
So after the governor's collapses on the street, bystanders start following Roy, Nino, and Dom.
Jesus Christ.
So Nino flashes his S&W at him, and they all hit the deck.
Joey continues.
They run to the car, and Roy starts pulling out and almost hits a guy. This funny-looking, cranky old fuck. The guy rolls down his window and starts screaming at him.
He starts to smile.
So Roy goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Hope you have a nice day."
Joey and Anthony laugh.
After bitching some more, the guy floors it and loses control, plowing right into a mailbox.
They laugh even harder. Chris chimes in snidely.
Yeah, and the Lindenberg baby just went missing too. Roy told me that one's ages ago.
Good for you, Chris.
Future first Jew button man.
Joey and Anthony laugh. Chris seethes.
Where are we heading?
Andres.
Joey shakes his head.
Fucking Andre. Keeps rubbing in how he begged that one hostess from Tommaso everyone wanted to fuck.
And how I love his good little Catholic girl fiance let it out slide because she's abstaining.
Chris interjects.
You should fucking talk with how you're letting him slide on the tag money.
Fuck off, Chris.
You serious?
No, I'm kidding. You should be paying him back at this point.
Lighten up, man. We gave him a small break because he had to chip in for his young cousin's cancer surgery. You know he's good for it.
Yeah? Then how come Rega told me he just bought 10 grand in methaqualone from his pharmacy pal?
Silence from the Gemini twins as the car pulls into Andre's shop. Joey and Anthony start to exit the vehicle before Chris scolds them.
Stay.
In Andre's car shop office, Andre Katz, 23, exceptionally good-looking, charismatic, Romanian-born immigrant, kisses an attractive Hispanic woman, 16, who sits on his lap. As he starts to reach down her pants, she pushes his hand away.
What's the matter?
Too much.
He collects himself, flashing a charming smile. After a pause, she returns the expression. He looks over at the counter in the lobby where her pocketbook rests.
We kind of just made our way over here, didn't we?
I guess we did.
They both share a light laugh.
I saw the new David dip in your tape deck. That's good taste right there.
He's the best.
He smiles as he shakes his head.
You've got some accent.
So do you.
Not as bad as you.
He starts to pet her.
They laugh at you when you were little?
She nods her head.
Me too. Kind of tough growing up when you're from elsewhere.
It can be.
Suddenly, he averts his eyes and hangs his head.
What's wrong?
It's nothing. Just reminds me of my little cousin who has cancer.
Oh, you poor thing.
Don't worry about it.
He gently parts her bangs.
Just keep on distracting me.
They start to kiss again. After a few moments, he reaches down her pants again. She resists it again. Shifting gears on a dime, he becomes enraged. He clenches his fist as he looks down at the ground, laughing in astonishment. He squeezes her in a bit too tightly.
See over there?
He points his head towards the garage where a mechanic works on an unimpressive car.
I got my guys working on your family's one car over there. I think they'll do a real nice job. But sometimes the engine just seizes up and there's not a thing you can do. Get my drift?
She becomes tense. Suddenly a door slams. Through the looking glass, Andre spots Chris in the lobby.
Wait here.
In the lobby, Andre opens his arms to greet Chris.
Chrissy!
Where's my money, Andre?
What money? You talked to Joey?
What money? I talked to Matty Rager, motherfucker. Here you got big into pharmaceuticals.
Wow, I really have no clue what you're talking about.
Chris's blood starts to boil. He points at Andre.
Keep playing fucking stupid with me.
Andre laughs incredulously.
Last time I saw Riga, he was bad-mouthing you. Now he's playing you for a sucker. Glad you're here, though.
He points at a van in his garage.
My cousin was picked up in one of your vans, and the cops knew it was hot. You guys did a lousy job on the retag. I'm not paying for that.
Want me to see if Royal gets you a refund?
Nah, how about you just take your midget ass and get the fuck out of my shop?
Chris punches Andre squarely in the mouth, slams his head against the counter, and jams a .38 down his throat. He seethes as he glares at him.
It'll be waiting for me tomorrow. Understand?
No response from Andre. Chris jams the gun down his throat further, forcing him to gag. Andre finally gives in, nodding his head vigorously. Chris removes the gun and storms out. Andre looks on with fire in his eyes as he gathers himself. In a nightclub at night in the bathroom, Chris, looking like a heavy metal guitarist with his shoulder-length hair, leather jacket, and bell-bottom jeans, snorts cocaine from a spoon. His higher-than-usual platform shoes tack on some inches to his normally diminutive stature. Oblivious to the unending stream of drunken club-goers flowing around him, he stares into the foggy mirror with dead, bloodshot eyes, seemingly indulging in his cocaine-induced stupor. In the main room, back against the bar, Chris and Joey drink while surveying the scene.
The 1 weekend to races away, 2-to-1 ratio at least.
The men sip their drinks. Joey fixes his eyes on the dance floor.
Ooh, see that?
He points to a gorgeous brunette.
I know the guy she's dancing with.
From where?
My old neighborhood. Just gave him points on some yay. He's a deadbeat. Already can't make the vig. Watch this.
Chris walks onto the dance floor and interrupts the pair, exuberantly greeting the man with a hug and a handshake. He then turns his attention to Judith Questel, 21, playfully devilish, bad boy fetishizing, club-hopping party girl, and starts dancing with her. Wholly turned on, she only pretends to hesitate before reciprocating. Her original partner smiles awkwardly before slinking off the dance floor in humiliation.
Wow. Can't say I've ever seen that before.
He's a great guy. He really is.
Is that how you treat your friends?
I wouldn't really call him a friend. So where you from?
Take a guess.
He looks at her upscale outfit.
Somewhere above 25, eh? I'd say you're a North Shore girl.
Wrong.
Though irked, he continues to play along.
5 towns?
She continues to provoke him.
Wrong.
Who the fuck cares where in Nowheresville?
Wrong again. You're not very good at this game, are you?
Spoiled rich girl is a spoiled rich girl. Don't matter where she's from.
If you say so. So do you have a job?
Nah, I'm a bum.
Uh,
I own a car shop, but I do other stuff too. I'm a businessman.
since you're begging me to ask, what kind of other stuff?
He looks at her cross-eyed.
Stuff that makes me money.
Stocks?
Nah,
Sales?
nah.
Head tilted, she eyes him inquisitively. They continue to dance. She eyes his platform shoes and giggles. She points directly down at them.
You got on some stilts there, huh?
Chris snaps his head up like a viper and glares scornfully at her. She smirks subtly. He has her attention. In Judy's apartment bedroom at night, Chris unleashes on Judy as the two have uninhibited bed frame rocking sex. She screams loudly. In Andre's car shop, day, Andre spots Chris through the looking glass and leaves through the back of the building. Chris enters the shop and hops over the counter in pursuit. Outside the car shop, as Chris exits through the back, Andre runs toward the street. Joey, driving Chris's white Corvette, screeches in front of Andre, cutting off his path. He exits the vehicle with a blackjack in hand. Chris and Joey beat Andre to a bloody pulp.
Last warning, Andre.
Anthony pulls up in Andre's beloved dark green Mercedes. Chris yanks Andre by his hair and shows him the vehicle.
Mine now.
He slams his head down and walks over to the car. The three men drive off. In the Brooklyn District Attorney's office, Detective Peter Calabro, 30, well-built and masculine-looking with slick back hair, sits behind his office desk. His two worn eyes and pallid complexion stand in stark contrast to his high-energy persona. Sitting across from him, a battered Andre Katz jabbers on. Calabro interrupts.
If I could slow you down here for a second, Andre. Now, you mentioned Roy DeMeo.
Yes.
Mind repeating his exact involvement in what you're describing?
Andre sighs.
Are you even paying attention?
Calabro holds up his hand as if to say, calm yourself.
I know this is stressful for you, but I have to be absolutely certain I can corroborate the information on Roy.
I told you. He's running a stolen car ring. His little midget helper, Chris Rosenberg, sold me 10 retagged VW vans. Get that?
Calabro smiles to himself as he scribbles on a pad.
Anything else?
Andre thinks up some bullshit.
Yeah. Chris is always trying to sell me guns from his police-issue weapons stockpile.
Calabro pops up just as Andre finishes and extends his hand to him.
You're a superstar for offering this up. Really takes some balls.
Andre reluctantly stands and shakes it.
Next step would be to get you in front of a grand jury. Is that something you'd be open to?
I'll do whatever it takes. What about until then?
Andre points to his bruised face.
This crazy fuck keeps harassing me.
Nothing we could do for you at this point. I'd say just keep that head on a swivel and try to stay out of the public eye.
Andre looks on in frustration. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse, in the living room, Chris and the Gemini twins watch TV on the couch. In the hallway, Roy shares a hearty laugh with the shadowy figure, one whose silhouette holds a striking resemblance to that of Detective Calabro. He escorts the man out. Roy snaps his fingers at Chris. In the hallway, Roy grabs Chris and puts him in a headlock, rolling his knuckles over his skull before planting a kiss on his cheek. He looks him over, noticing his long hair and flowered shirt.
Look at you. You look like one of those schmucks I always see in Greenwich on my way to Ravenite.
Chris smiles.
How's it going with the cars?
Easy pickings.
Right? And wait till you see what I got lined up with these Kuwaitis. Meantime, though, we got a little trouble.
Oh.
You know an Andre Katz?
Chris nods his head.
My hook in the DA's office says he's a stoolie.
Chris shakes his head in disgust.
That motherfucker.
With what he knows about the cars, he can hurt you. Just kill the fucking guy.
Chris goes silent. Roy pinches his cheeks.
What are you afraid of? Just whack him and get rid of the body. No body, no crime.
I ain't afraid.
Roy gently palms his shoulders, directing his attention out the window towards an under-construction gas station.
See right over there? They ought to put a couple of tombstones over there, because that's where I buried 2 guys.
He parts Chris's bangs.
Make your bones, and you'll be a made guy in no time. After you kill someone, anything is possible.
Roy stares at Chris intensely, lustily even. In Chris's car at night, Chris and Judy, both dressed nicely, cruise along in Midtown Manhattan. On Judy's lap sits a playbill.
So what do you think?
Chris leans his head back and snores.
Oh, shut up. Come on, those seats.
Seats were the best part.
How'd you get them?
Guy from work.
She looks at Chris with curious fascination.
Wish my work got me box seats at the Winter Garden.
Eyes wandering, Judy spots an envelope sitting on the ledge of the glove box. The name reads Chris Rosenberg.
I thought you said your last name was DeMeo.
It is.
Chris shoves the envelope back in the glove box and slams the door shut. Seeing an opportunity, she pounces.
You don't look Italian.
He snaps at her.
Well, you're a Jew and you look like a Jew.
I don't know. Rosenberg sure sounds Jewish to me.
Silence from Chris.
How come you don't like being Jewish?
How come you ask so many questions?
Sorry, are you busy right now?
Because I grew up around Italians. All my friends are Italian. Jews were the weak ones in my neighborhood.
And DeMeo is your friend Roy's last name? My girlfriend in Bensonhurst says everyone in Brooklyn knows who Roy DeMeo is.
Roy's like a father to me.
And your real father's okay with this?
Don't matter what he thinks.
How come?
It just doesn't.
Any brothers or sisters?
One brother.
What's he like?
He goes to medical school. Gonna be a doctor.
On the street at night, the car travels along the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway.
Your parents must really be scratching their heads.
Chris's house. The car pulls into Chris's 2-car garage. In the garage, Judy is beside herself upon seeing Chris's brand new white Porsche 911.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
She does a lap around the car, examining it closely.
Can we take it for a spin later?
We'll see.
If we do, I'm driving.
As Chris starts to pull the garage door shut, bang! A splatter of blood erupts from his face. Before he realizes what hit him, another bang. The flesh in his arm rips open. Chris falls to the ground as more gunshots ring out. Judy screams. Out on the street, a car speeds off. In a hospital, Chris lies asleep with his arm in a sling and a bandage on his face. His eyes slowly come into focus. Not recognizing his surroundings, he starts to panic. Judy grasps his hand.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was so worried about you.
What happened?
I heard gunshots, and then I saw you lying in a pool of blood.
Judy pauses for a moment before squeezing Chris's hand.
Everything's gonna be fine, though.
Chris feels the bandage on his face.
What's this? You got a mirror?
He starts peeling it off.
I don't think you should be doing that.
Give me your mirror.
Judy hands Chris a small makeup mirror. As he flips it open, he's horrified to see that his lower jaw is disfigured. In Joey's car, that day, through a pair of binoculars, we see Andre's brother sitting alone in an idling car.
He's waiting for him.
Suddenly, Andre hustles out to the vehicle.
There he is.
Andre scans the area as he enters the car. Joey laughs.
Paranoid fuck.
The car speeds off. Joey puts down the binoculars and turns to Chris in the passenger seat.
We've been tailing him since you were in the hospital. Never travels alone, Doesn't even go out on weekends.
Chris, now wearing a beard to hide his facial disfigurement, clenches his fist tightly while rubbing the scar on his jaw.
This asshole ruined my face.
Anthony chimes in from the back seat.
Too bad Roy won't learn us the M16. Take out Andre and his dopey-ass brother in one squeeze.
He fires an imaginary machine gun out the window. Chris shakes his head.
We gotta get him out in the open.
Using his binoculars, Chris spots a man walking with his girlfriend.
Think I got an idea.
In Judy's apartment living room, Chris and Judy sit on an old plaid couch next to a Tiffany lamp. A hairspray poster hangs above them.
I don't know, Chris. I'm not much of an actress.
All you gotta do is be yourself.
Who is this guy?
Just a guy who owes us money. He's a real good-looking guy, too.
What if he steals me away?
I'm not worried about that.
She smiles before turning serious.
Does this have to do with the guy that shot you?
No, we still don't know who did that.
Will you hurt him?
Absolutely not. We just need to talk to him.
Chris firmly attaches his hands to her waist, slowly rubbing them up and down.
It'll be an adventure, like you're one of them guys in the movies.
He looks her straight in the eye.
It'll be such a big help to me.
She pauses before agreeing with a smile. In Andre's car shop lobby, Judy, all dolled up and dressed flamboyantly, enters the shop, a sight to behold. The receptionist, early 20s, Andre's fiancée, greets her coldly.
Can I help you?
From his office, Andre spots Judy.
Hi, I'm looking for a white bug that my girlfriend left here.
We don't have a car like that.
Andre approaches the front counter.
You think you could double check?
I'll say it again.
Sorry about that.
He blatantly looks her over. Starting at the toe tip of her white vinyl go-go boots, he slowly works his way up to her navel.
Want to take a look in back with me?
She smiles flirtatiously at him.
Sure.
Outside the car shop garage, the two walk by a row of cars, some being repaired by mechanics. Andre pats the hood of a car.
Wouldn't be this one.
He taps a pickup truck.
Definitely not this one.
He puts his hand on a Mercedes-Benz W113250 SL.
This one's mine.
Not bad.
They reach the end of the row.
Maybe your friend's car is somewhere else.
Guess she must have misplaced it.
As he studies her face, he starts to squint.
You look so familiar. Where do I know you from?
Flashback to, in a car at night, leaning out the window with an automatic rifle, Andre sets his sights on Chris from a distance. Judy wanders into the sight line. Back to the present.
You really went all out for a trip to the car shop.
I'm on my way to the city.
How are you gonna get there without a ride?
I'll call someone.
Where are you heading?
She hesitates slightly.
None of your business. Am I free to go now, officer?
He smiles amusedly.
Let me show you something.
In Andre's car, from the passenger seat, Judy watches the heavily tinted power windows pull up slowly. Andre rubs the leather seat covering.
Entire upholstery was handmade in Italy. Only 5,000 of these were ever built.
Must have cost you a pretty penny.
He pauses as he reflects on the stolen vehicle.
Don't want to seem like I'm bragging, but I'm proud of it. Built this business from the ground up. Just glad my pop got to see it before he passed on.
She warms up to him.
Want to go for a little spin?
Sure.
Andre pulls out of the garage and onto the street. The car explodes as he slams the gas pedal, maneuvering at a breakneck pace through the modest city streets. Judy hangs on tightly.
More horses than the Jag, Beamer, and Citroen.
The tires screech as he hooks a hard right at a very high speed.
The radial tires grip the road like a viper's jaws.
He hooks an even harder left into a desolate alley. She flies into his lap as he comes to an abrupt stop. They share a look and start to kiss. After some time, he starts to push her head down towards his lap. She resists.
What are you doing?
Get down.
A struggle ensues. As she resists, he pushes harder. Suddenly, the cocking of a gun is heard. Cold steel presses against the side of her head. Horrified, she looks up at him.
Just do it.
With few options and revenge on her mind, she continues to set the trap. She smiles warmly at him with wanting eyes, as if turned on by the weapon. With his fingers still resting on the trigger, she fillets the gun barrel seductively, kissing the nozzle after she finishes. He's amused. As she bends her head to do the deed, a tear sneaks out of her eye. In Judy's apartment living room, looking fraught and pale with smeared mascara, Judy paces nervously. She periodically glances out the window. She jumps as the phone rings.
Hello?
You said 37th Street, right?
Yeah, I told him to wait for me out there.
Good. He's going to feel some pain for what he did to you.
Chris hangs up the phone abruptly. Judy stares at the receiver. As she walks back to the window, she sees Andre arrive. Only moments later, a van pulls up and boxes him in. Surrounded and without resource, Andre exits the car with his hands held high. Joey grabs his arms as Anthony tightens a noose around his neck. Chris viciously socks him in the stomach as they yank him into the van. Initially satisfied, Judy's stomach sinks as she watches the scene unfold. Explosive thoughts run through her mind as the trauma of the events sets in. She gets dizzy and starts to have a panic attack. Hyperventilating, she puts both her hands over her heart as she sits bent over her lap. Eyes wide, her breathing gets heavier and heavier. In a supermarket meat department at night, post-lap, Judy's deep, panicked breath leaks into the scene. A bound and gagged Andre hangs upside down from a hook in a meat locker. He wears nothing but yellow silk panties. Tears stream down his bruised face as he murmurs through his gag and flops like a fish desperately trying to break free. Looking down at him are Roy, Chris, and the Gemini twins, all dressed in white butcher's coats and wearing rubber gloves.
Can you believe this guy wearing panties?
Roy grins self-amusedly, a possible indicator that the yellow undergarment, whose lower backside is stained in blood, might not have originated with Andre. A tray of various sized boning and fillet knives sit on a counter behind the men. Roy palms Chris's shoulder as he hands him a long butcher's knife. He points at Andre's heart.
Drive it through his heart a couple of times. The quicker the heart stops pumping, the less mess we have.
Chris locks eyes with Andre. Andre looks at him pleadingly as he whimpers and whines. Flashback to an alley. After nearly killing bully Frank Romano, Chris 10 breathes heavily as he collects himself. Back to the present, Chris lifts the knife above his head with two hands.
Killing was always the same to me, from my first to my last.
As he begins his descent, he screams. Cut to black. Black screen. A series of phone conversations, as if heard through the phone line. A phone rings.
Hello?
It's me.
Judy is beside herself.
What happened? His car was there the next day.
He just got a beating and now he's in a hospital someplace.
He better not be dead. They're going to be looking for me.
He's not. Don't worry about it.
A phone rings.
Verbeat, how can I help you?
Hi, is Andre around?
Who's speaking?
Barbara.
Was that you looking for the Volkswagen last week?
Silence from Judy.
We haven't seen him in a few days. Have you?
A click as Judy hangs up. At a parking lot at night, crime scene investigators canvass the area. Another phone conversation is heard through the phone line. The phone rings.
He's dead, isn't he?
On a tarpaulin, the remnants of Andre's body are laid out and pieced together like a puzzle.
You'll be fine. Just don't say nothing.
Andre's mangled head, having been crushed in a cardboard compactor, rests in a large plastic bag held by an official.
Who else knows what I know?
The official holds the bag in view of Detective Calabro, as if asking for identification.
Only you.
Calabro plays dumb and shakes his head.
Why'd you have to do it?
I did it for you.
That's bullshit! You used me!
In a Brooklyn District Attorney's office day, a distraught Judy sits in front of an empty desk with a nameplate that reads Detective Peter Calabro. As a shadow creeps up behind her, she turns around. A fresh-faced detective motions her to join him, implying Detective Calabro is out for the day. In a courtroom, Judy has a nervous breakdown as she's badgered and berated on the witness stand by Chris's ultra-aggressive defense lawyer. Weeks later, the jury foreman reads not guilty. Chris and Roy share a warm embrace. On a street in a small town somewhere, Judy, wearing sunglasses with newly dyed hair, resting beneath a shawl, carries a paper bag filled with groceries.
The Night of Knives, as we like to call it, marked the real beginning of the DeMeo crew.
After a loud noise in the distance startles her, she quickens her pace.
We crossed a wicked threshold and didn't look back.
Sequence, the murder machine. In an office, a projector clicks on and starts running.
In one eye blink, everything changed.
Roy and his superior, Anthony Nino Gaggi, 54, balding gangster epitome, sit alongside Douglas Todaro, 30, nephew of Mr. Todaro from the teaser. The three men watch a heinous porn film on the projector screen. The vile sounds of humans and dogs in copulation are heard. Roy is unbothered as he watches. Nino cringes, barely able to keep his eyes on the screen.
Enough!
On a sidewalk, Roy and Nino go for a stroll to discuss business.
Like learning to ride a bike or fix a car, you acquired a new tool and just kept on using it.
Are you fucking crazy? No.
All we gotta do is knock off this guy's uncle and it'll cut us in big time.
I don't care. It's 11-year-olds and people with dogs, Roy. I have 4 kids at home.
The sick fucks are gonna get it either way, so why not make some money off it? And by some, I mean a lot.
Roy hands Nino a piece of paper with a figure on it. Nino's eyes pop. On the street, at night, in a repeat of the teaser, we again see Freddy and Mr. Todaro walking towards the entrance of the Gemini Lounge Clubhouse.
Name our calling card. Roy, a former butcher's apprentice, drew out the map to murder.
In the Gemini Lounge Clubhouse hallway, as Mr. Todaro cautiously walks down the dark hallway, a half-naked Chris, 29, pops out holding a butcher's knife. While the old man freezes in terror, Roy glides in from behind and shoots him in the back of the head. He quickly wraps a towel around the wound.
Freddy would lure the victims to the clubhouse where Roy would pop them in the head.
As Roy holds the body, an unhinged Chris stabs it in the heart repeatedly.
I made sure the heart stopped pumping so we didn't have a mess.
Joey and Anthony arrive on the scene and help move the body to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Mr. Todaro's naked corpse hangs upside down from a shower bar. Blood drips from his head into the bathtub.
We hung the body in the bathroom.
In the living room, the men laugh and carry on, busting each other's balls while enjoying a pizza and watching TV.
And waited 45 minutes for the blood to drain and congeal.
45 minutes later, Mr. Todaro's corpse rests on a blue tarpaulin in the middle of the floor. Using saws and boning knives, the men, dressed in white butcher's coats and wearing rubber gloves, methodically dismember the body.
Then we took it apart.
The body parts are placed in green plastic garbage bags, which are put in cardboard boxes and sealed.
Packed it up nice and neatly.
On the street, Freddy drives along Fountain Avenue en route to one of the largest landfills in the city.
Freddy would drop the remains off at the dump.
On the Fountain Avenue dump, the 3 cardboard boxes containing the remnants of Mr. Todaro rest indiscreetly amongst an endless sea of New York City waste.
Where they were laid to rest forever. Not one body was ever found.
In the car at night, sitting in the driver's seat, a woman rummages through her pocketbook. Unbeknownst to her, a ginger-haired rapist lurks over the passenger seat, staring at her with a Cheshire grin.
And once the murder machine got going, it just didn't stop.
An indicator appears over the man's large shamrock tattoo on his right shoulder. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse, the woman's father gestures angrily as he shows Roy a photo of a similar-looking ginger-haired man. He hands Roy an envelope, and they shake hands.
We were just looking for a reason to kill you.
On the street, the ginger-haired man from the photo walks to the entrance of the Gemini Lounge clubhouse. An indicator appears over his right shoulder which shows no tattoo. He clearly isn't the perpetrator.
Do a bad thing?
Montage. Wrongfully accused. Note, each montage in the murder machine sequence lasts only a few seconds and consists of a series of extremely fast cuts, each accompanied with a sound effect, i.e., Requiem for a Dream. The Gemini Lounge clubhouse hallway. Squirt as Roy's silenced pistol pops the man in the head. Tear as Chris's knife plunges into his heart. In the bathroom, drip as blood leaks from the man's head as his naked body hangs over the shower bar. In the living room, laughter from Roy as the men wait for the blood to congeal. Sawing as one of the men cuts through the bone. Rip as packing tape is stretched over a box. And in a car, screech of tires as Freddy transports the boxes to the dump. At the dump, thump as the boxes appear amidst other trash. End of montage. In the Brooklyn District Attorney's office, they, a man 35 and his beauty queen girlfriend 19, share information with Detective Calabro. She smiles and nods.
Snitch on us.
Montage. Snitches. On the street at night, shatter as Joey shoots the man's girlfriend through a car window as she waits. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse, they clank as they throw her naked body over the shower bar next to her boyfriend's body. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse living room, peeling as a knife fillets skin off of one of the dead bodies. Then zip as a plastic bag containing a body part is sealed. In the car, roar as an engine turns on after the key is turned in the ignition. At the dump, night, trump, thump. Words. Thump at the dump as the boxes appear around previously placed boxes. End of montage. In the warehouse, Chris listens impatiently as a man, mid-20s, gestures demonstratively while pleading ignorance.
Steal from us?
In the warehouse at night, Anthony frantically enters the pitch-dark space, gently shutting the door behind him. Chris and Joey stand on a blue tarpaulin, guns drawn.
He brought his friend, tall, skinny, blonde guy.
Oh, that's Danny from Bay Ridge.
What do we do?
Montage. Wrong time, wrong place. In the warehouse at night, pop, 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 as the two men are savagely gunned down upon entering. Then sawing, hammering, and slicing as the men chop up the bodies, swarming like bees. On the street, slam as Joey shuts his box-filled trunk. At the dump, thump, as the boxes appear around previously placed boxes. End of montage. At the Fountain Avenue dump, continuing off the last shot of the previous montage, the boxes keep multiplying.
And on and on and on it went. Together we formed one of the most dangerous crews in the history of Cosa Nostra.
Montage. Various murders. The boat deck. Bang bang as Joey and Anthony simultaneously land headshots on two unsuspecting men as they peer out over the deck railing. On the ocean, splash splash as water bags containing human body parts land in the water. In the warehouse, slice as Roy slits the throat of a man wearing duct tape over his mouth. Out the parking lot, Slam as the trunk of a car is shut over the same man's dead body. And then scratch as a match is lit. And then boom as the car explodes. In the car, vroom as Chris and the Gemini twins ride off from the scene.
One that rivaled the famed Murder Inc. of the 30s and 40s.
End of montage. In the car, continuing off the last shot of the previous montage, Chris and the Gemini twins cruise along. In the car at day. Suddenly, night changes to day. The men now wear sunglasses and casual attire. They ride along Jones Beach. Montage. Success. In the car, vroom, as the same car from the previous scene accelerates. On the ocean, sputter from a motorboat engine. Then, pit-pat-pit, as the Gemini twins jet ski. In the Gemini twin living room, day. Shuffle as a money machine counts dollar bills amidst Roy's laughter. In a bungalow, sniffle as Chris snorts cocaine. Then moaning from Chris's girlfriend as he fucks her. In Roy's backyard, splash as Freddy cannonballs into the pool. Then searing as meat cooks on a grill. Pat-pat as Roy puts his arm around Chris. End of montage. End of sequence. In the Gemini Lounge bar, night 5 years later. Chris, 29, wears an expensive diamond ring on his pinky.
By 1979, Roy was a capo, and I was his number 2. Through drugs, cars, and other schemes, I was bringing over 15 grand a week.
He and the Gemini twins drink at the bar.
I'd proven myself to be as tough as an enforcer and valuable an earner as any Italian ever made by my family.
Dominic Montiglio, late 20s, strapping nephew of Roy's boss, Nino Gaggi, emerges from the clubhouse. He flashes a gloating smile as he walks by. Joey glares back at him as he exits.
Pussy.
Fuck him. Roy doesn't even answer to Nino no more. Once I get my button, he won't be a problem.
Yeah, Chris? Last time we checked, you're not Italian.
Minor obstacle.
So, you used to have a Sicilian. You used to be Sicilian, then they changed it.
I don't really see them changing it for a Jew. They didn't change it for Myrlansky.
He never took people out like I did.
Anthony laughs as he points to a disheveled, mumbling Freddie Denome at the opposite end of the bar.
Freddy's got a better shot at getting a button than you do, Chris.
That's not what Roy said.
Joey and Anthony look at each other again and laugh again. A humiliated Chris, realizing he's been excluded from the joke between Roy and the Gemini twins, turns red with rage. He grabs Anthony by the neck and squeezes. Anthony pulls out a Smith & Wesson and points it at Chris' stomach. The two remain at a stalemate as they glare at each other.
In the end, I knew I had to be miles above a full-blooded Italian if I was going to ever be noticed. I had to do something explosive.
On the highway, a car cruises along the MacArthur Causeway in Miami, Florida.
Like everything else, it always came down to the dollars.
In the car, Anthony stares longingly at the sun-drenched scenery of Miami Beach.
Always nice taking in South Beach through the window of a dingy fucking rental car.
Yeah, this better be good, Chris, especially going behind Roy's back.
Chris, wearing sunglasses, responds confidently.
Relax. We're doing Roy a favor by keeping this quiet. Nino's always giving him shit about trafficking.
Yeah, probably because it's a death sentence if Big Paul finds out.
Ain't gonna happen. This is easy stuff. Just a bunch of spoiled rich kids sitting on a mountain of coke, begging us to take it. Roy will be grinning ear to ear once he sees this score.
Joey and Anthony share a look. In the car at night, the Gemini twins watch through the windshield as Chris meets with Charles Padnick, 50s, in the back of his auto shop. It's around midnight. Chris greets Padnick very warmly. Like two old friends, they shake hands and hug.
I've seen that before.
Anthony laughs and shakes his head.
which is begging to be made examples of.
Don't worry. When Chris gets his button, he'll smooth everything over.
They laugh.
Cruel ass Roy keeps egging him on. Gonna get us all killed.
At least there could be some money in this. 12 kilos ain't no joke.
Padnick hands Chris a piece of paper. Chris pulls out his .38 and shoots Padnick in the face. The Gemini twins flinch.
There it is.
In the motel, knocking is heard. Through a peephole, 3 slickly dressed mid-20s Hispanic men wait apprehensively. One of the men, William Serrano, holds a duffel bag. Chris opens the door. The men enter cautiously. As Chris shuts the door, the Gemini twins tackle 2 of the men and throw them on the bed. Chris points his .38 at Serrano. He holds up his hands.
What the fuck, man?
The Gemini twins pat down the 2 men.
They're clean.
Chris points the gun at Serrano's head. He flinches.
Quit your whining. This is the fucking big leagues. You know who I am?
No response from Serrano.
I said, you know who I am.
No.
Chris DeMayo. Say it.
Joey and Anthony look at each other, surprised.
Chris DeMayo.
Give me the bag.
Where's the money?
Chris shoots Serrano a vicious glare.
You'll get the money after I get the bag.
Serrano gives in and tosses Chris the bag. He throws it to the twins, who examine the included test amount of cocaine.
Looks fine.
Chris throws an envelope at Serrano.
If your shit checks out, we'll do the rest in New York.
At the Fountain Avenue dump at night, 1 week later, on a dirt road in a secluded area, Serrano stands idly near a Ford Pinto, holding a suitcase. In the brush nearby, his cousin Pippon, mid-20s, vomits. The thick stench from the surrounding trash composite is too much to handle. Serrano shakes his head.
No boys.
Pippon scoffs at his cousin as he collects himself.
Boys, you should have seen the look on your face when he had that gun on you.
He walks over to him.
Who agrees to meet in the middle of a fucking dump anyway?
Smart people who don't want to be locked in Sing Sing till they're 50. If it don't bother me.
It's
Pippon
been
checks his watch.
It's been 2 hours already.
Leave then.
Serrano tilts his head back towards the car. In Ford Pinto, the insurance plan, Carlo, mid-20s, cradles a semi-automatic rifle as he lays hidden in an underfloor cutout in the back hatch. At the dump,
Me and Carlo will split your take.
feeling queasy again, Pippon walks over to the brush. As he hunches over and starts to vomit, bang! A shotgun blast rips through his head. Serrano hastily pulls out his pistol and fires off a couple of rounds into the darkness. Chris and the Gemini twins emerge from the shadows wearing ski masks and holding shotguns. Chris, having been struck in the abdomen with a small contact wound, puts 2 fingers over the bleeding flesh. The 3 men train their guns on Serrano.
Drop the gun on your knees, hands on your head.
Serrano complies. Chris holds him at gunpoint as the Gemini twins examine the contents of the suitcase. In the Ford Pinto, a terrified Carlo freezes at the dump.
Looks good.
Chris squares the gun barrel on Serrano's back head and cocks the weapon. He panics.
Carlo, you fucking coward! Wake the fuck up!
Chris looks at the Gemini twins.
Check the car.
Behind Chris, the Gemini twins pop open the trunk.
No, wait!
They fire multiple blasts into the back hatch, killing Carlo. Chris reapplies the gun barrel to Serrano's head. Resigned to his fate, he closes his tear-filled eyes. A shotgun blast closes the scene. In Chris's house that day, the telephone rings. Chris, lying in bed next to his girlfriend, reaches over and picks it up.
What?
Have you read the paper yet?
I'm still sleeping.
They found the bodies already. That Serrano guy. Supposedly he was the nephew of a top guy in the Colombians. Chris thinks.
No one knows it's us.
Silence from Joey.
Let's wait and see how this plays out before we tell Roy.
In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse at night, Chris enters the pitch-dark apartment. As he walks down the hallway, a sense of dread overcomes him. He looks over his shoulder.
Hello?
A dejected Roy sits on the living room couch.
Over here.
Moonlight seeping through the picture window exposes his worn-out face and two bleary eyes.
You wanted to see me?
Sit down.
Chris sits.
How you been?
Good. Working hard.
You're a good kid. There's nothing new going on with you.
Not really.
Roy spots the small wound on Chris's lower abdomen from the ambush.
What's this? Take off your shirt.
Chris hesitates before taking off his shirt. Roy sidles up a little closer to him and rubs the skin around the wound gently.
What happened?
Stephanie.
Roy laughs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
In the moment of levity, Roy stares deeply into Chris's eyes before leaning in towards him. He plants a soft, close-mouthed kiss on his lips. Chris blacks out. Coming in and out of consciousness, he catches momentary glimpses of the encounter. Roy shoving his tongue down his throat, kissing his neck, then laying on top of him. He awakens fully clothed, having no recollection of the previous moments. His nose bleeds. Roy quietly studies him. In Chris's house, garage. As Chris prepares to enter his house, a loud noise from the street startles him. He reaches for his .38. In Chris's car, while driving, Chris notices he's being tailgated. He switches lanes, and moments later, so does the tailgater. With the same car still following him, he pulls onto the entrance ramp to the highway. He slams the brakes and puts the car in reverse, swerving around the tailgater and evading the tail. In a hotel, in the lobby, Chris purchases a hotel room at the front desk.
What would you like to check in under?
Chris DeMeo.
Flashback to hotel.
Kristen Mail.
Back to present, Chris thinks to himself after making the recollection. Room. Chris snorts some coke in the bathroom. A little while later, he lies in bed next to an empty bottle of Cutty Sark while dazedly watching a holiday special on TV. His eyes close. In the neighborhood at night, on a snowy night, Chris pulls up to the curb in front of his childhood home. As he exits his car, he notices something eerie. It's pitch black outside. He can't see a thing. He stumbles as he climbs the porch steps. Using his outstretched arm for guidance, he struggles his way to the front door. In the Rosenberg residence, as he opens the door, he sees a family huddled around the TV watching a holiday special. He's greeted warmly. His niece and nephew run up to him. We see Chris smile for the first time. Suddenly, muffled cries are heard from the closet, cries that are remnant of Andre Katz's desperate pleas before he was murdered. As Chris gets closer, the sounds become more intense. He opens the closet door and sees himself, not Andre, strung up and waiting to be slaughtered. In the hotel room, Chris wakes up in a cold sweat, breathing heavily. The same holiday special still plays on the TV. In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse, Chris enters the apartment apprehensively. He relaxes upon seeing a familiar sight. Roy and the Gemini twins sit at the dining room table, eating sandwiches from a local deli while Freddy watches TV in the living room.
Hey, yo,
The men acknowledge Chris.
what'd you give me?
Roy smiles before reaching into a brown paper bag. He pulls out a pistol and in one swift motion shoots Chris in the face, knocking him to the floor. To the shock of everyone, Chris staggers to one knee. Roy, shaken to the core, can't bring himself to pull the trigger again. Anthony steps in and puts 4 more bullets in Chris's head. The Gemini twins wipe the blood off of their dead friend.
Make sure it hits the papers.
On the street at night, Joey and Anthony, each with an arm under one of Chris's shoulders, escort his body as if it were a drunk friend. They set it upright in the passenger seat of Chris's jet black BMW. Joey takes off in the car as Anthony follows behind him. On the highway, Joey ditches the car on an empty 4-lane stretch of highway near Gateway National Recreation Area and hops into Anthony's car. As they pass the abandoned vehicle, Joey leans out the window and rakes it with machine gun fire. Newspaper, the front cover of the New York Post, spins onto the screen. The headline reads, "Mob associate gunned down at Gateway." The cover photo shows Chris's bullet-ridden BMW surrounded by law enforcement officials.
And that was that.
On a highway at day, crime scene investigators canvass the abandoned BMW. One official notices the curious entrance wound in Chris's cheek as he examines the body.
I took my shot and missed.
At the cemetery, a rabbi reads from the Torah at a near empty funeral service. Only Chris's mom, dad, and brother attend.
If you were given my life, you would have done the same.
In the courtroom, years later, Judy testifies successfully against the Gemini twins after new evidence is uncovered. Joey and Anthony watch on from the defense bench.
Everyone else wound up dead or in jail anyway.
At the cemetery, a headstone reads, Harvey Rosenberg, 1950 through 1979. Victor Katz, brother of Andre, hawks a loogie on the tomb before storming off.
I might have been born Harvey Rosenberg.
The engraved text, Harvey Rosenberg, changes to Chris DeMeo.
But I died Chris DeMeo.
In the Gemini Lounge clubhouse, flashing back to Chris's murder scene, we see Roy's agonized face in slow motion as he struggles to finish off his protege.
And though I never got a button, I still knew Roy loved me in the end.
Romantic violins play as a heart-shaped iris envelopes the screen before it closes to black. The end.
Yay!
Yay! Sorry for missing the cues. I didn't get a chance to finish highlighting.
No worries, no worries. Okay, good read, everybody. Thank you so much, Tyrion, for submitting your script. We had a lot of fun doing that, and a couple new readers today who did a really great job. So now we're going to do a feedback. And normally we start at the top of the list, but today I'm going to give Kat a break so she can iron out her raps and limericks she's been writing for us. So let's start with Cheddar. Cheddar, what were your thoughts on the script today?
Oh, you're gonna make me go after I just finished reading?
Yes.
Wrecked.
Yeah, but you usually don't say very much.
That's true. And I didn't really take many notes. I only took one because I was, reading most of the time. There was a lot of action. Thank you for submitting, by the way, Tyrion Draper. This was really good. Very, very dark and gritty. Yeah, so the one note I have, though, was I felt like Judy and Chris, I felt like their relationship was just suddenly, I don't know, deeper than I expected it to be. Because, like, on page 29, it's kind of like, it seems like they're really, like, a thing. And she's like, oh, are you worried he's going to steal me away from you? And he's like, nah, not a chance, even though my face just got disfigured, I'm not even worried about it. So it seems like they're all of a sudden they're like this loving couple, and it's like, where did that come from? And then, then he like uses her as bait for this like guy who he knows is a scumbag, and that's all, you know, makes sense in the character and in the story. But I felt like, yeah, we needed to see more leading up to their couplehood. That's really all I wrote down. But yeah, good stuff. Very, very visual. I could see the whole thing happening in my mind's eye.
Yeah, I was noting that as well. Very visual. Moving on now to Jukebox. What were your thoughts on the script?
Hey, thanks for submitting the script, Tay Diggs. It was really good. I enjoyed it. It was very visual. It was actually it was just really incredible reading or having Ched read all these montages and stage directions. It really gave me an essence of what it would look like, and I think all the characters are fleshed out. I would say, kind of echoing Cheddar on the relationship between Chris and Judy. I would have liked to see more of that, but I felt for the time being it was kind of earned their relationship. But other than that, I really liked the characters, and the writing was good. It was very visual. So good job.
Yeah, very visual times 2. Thank you. Now moving on to Kelly. What were your thoughts on the script?
I really liked it. It's told a good story. I don't have many notes. I liked it. I think that I would just like to see maybe more of a bit more of a development between the relationship between Chris and Judy. That would be kind of nice. So there's a bit more interaction between the two of them. So the betrayal becomes harder for her to deal with. And that's really about it. I mean, I had some issues with some of the pronunciations. I mean, my living in New York, like Canarsie. But other than that, nothing. Because I really liked it. I thought it told a good story. Thank you for letting me read.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And Juxtaposed, you are next on the list. Did you have any thoughts you wanted to share about the script?
First, thanks for submitting the script. I liked it a lot. It was really good pace, strong characters. Like everybody else, I also feel that the relationship between Judy and Chris could have been played more, but given what the time you had, it's understandable. If this, I'm guessing, as you said earlier, a pilot, so it's like, okay, kind of gotta reel you in. I actually really like the gritty stuff because it just shows you a pretty good description of what was going on in the time. In terms of mafia and like New York, I'm from Texas, so I'm kind of innocent in that world. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading for it. If you submit another one, count me in. I enjoyed this.
Awesome. Thank you, Juxtaposed. And for your first time reading with us, I thought you did a great job, and I hope you will volunteer again in the future. Moving on now to our other first-time reader on a Friday table read, who also did awesome, Enderley. Did you have any thoughts on the script you wanted to share?
Number 1, thank you for submitting. This was a lot of fun to read. Number 2, I really like the montages, but there's an issue that I think maybe you want to think about in terms of the way these are actually constructed when they're presented. I don't know what you're thinking about in terms of if there's going to be music over these montages, but you've got 6 consecutive montages of them hearing about something that they want to kill someone over, and then you say that it happens more rapidly each time with them going through the various steps of the montage, but you also have this voiceover going on. I don't know if you're planning on having like the voiceover play over the entire set of the montage, which is what I was thinking of. But the way it sounds right now, at least off of the table reading, I mean, I think that you're going to need to construct that area very carefully so that you don't lose the impact of what happens in the montage, the murders, but you're also getting across all of the details in the voice. Like, it's, I don't, it just sounds really like it's going to be difficult for you to put these things together in a way that isn't so much information bombarding someone at the same time. But at the same time, I really can't imagine these things being completely silent as they're happening. Like, this kind of sounds like the sort of thing where Chris is going to be talking over every step of the process. And if that's the case, I would encourage you to take these bits of voiceover and break them up and weave them into the different sections of the monologue. I mean, the montage.
Cool.
That's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Underlay. Good tip. And last but not least, we have Kat, who will now be gracing us with a limerick and a rap. Hit it, Kat.
Yo! Yo, my name is Kat, and I got something to say. I like reading this script in a vague, detached way. You see, I'm not a fan of violence, though I advocate drugs. I just couldn't get on board with this story full of thugs.
Oh, wow. That was quite something.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the writer for letting us read. I also wrote a limerick for the occasion.
All right, hit it.
There once was an asshole named Chris who sealed his fate with a kiss. He cut up a guy, shot his mate in the eye, and covered his rivals in piss.
Oh.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to say, so that's why I'm
That's all right.
frantically coming up with some kind of creative thing. I do. What is a button? I don't know if you explained that early on, but I
something
missed
that's
it.
very cute. I think when you're cute as a button.
I see. So he wanted, because it seemed like when people called him cute, he got upset. So I was confused.
I think also button mushrooms. I'm not sure.
I think this button thing needs explaining in the script, because this whole I never got a button thing. I was just like, what is a button?
I think it has to do with being a made man. Maybe they give you a pin.
But see, you don't know, and it was such a big deal in the script. I feel like we should know. And yeah, I agree with everyone about the sudden relationship, and that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for submitting. I had fun. It was well written.
That was great. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to do another pilot. This one's half as long. It's an animated comedy. I think it's 30-something pages. So take 5, and we'll be right back. And I shall put on some music for you guys.